What's going on, everybody? Chase with iDub Hockey, here with Andre, who's one of the co-founders of Rezztek. We have a really exciting new product, really trying to revolutionize something that has been around for 100 years. So before we start talking about all the specific tech and spec and the science behind Rezztek, can you explain to me what is a Rezztek and how does that benefit the hockey players out there?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me. And then going directly in what Rezztek represents, we have basically developed a material that replaces hockey tape. So instead of putting or wrapping around hockey tape on the blade of your stick, instead of hockey tape, you apply a Rezztek on the blade of the hockey stick. This is what it looks like when you apply it on your blade. And just to spend a few words on the material itself, and in terms of benefits for the players, it's lighter, it's thinner than traditional hockey tape. It's designed to be water repellent and water resistant, which is extremely important from our point of view because it doesn't attract ice and water and it doesn't get inside of the material. So it basically doesn't change the weight of your blade or of your tape job throughout the game. And it gives you that, let's call it that fresh feeling even towards the end of the period. Other than that, the top surface is designed to be more grippy than your traditional tape job would be, which then results in better grip for the puck, more rotation on the puck when it leaves your blade, because it keeps the puck on the blade for a split second longer, which based on what we're hearing from players, it gives you more stability and more, basically more pop on your shots, a more straight trajectory of your shots, and it also gives you more control on your passes or saucer passes. So basically we try to put everything together where hockey tape can be made better and then put it in a material that we actually envision will be there instead of hockey tape. So it's not a combination, not something you put under or over your tape job. It's something you put on your blade instead of hockey tape.
So if you're looking for better performance especially if you're using a high-end composite stick, this sounds like a high-end version of a composite stick, but for traditional hockey tape. And
exactly how you described it, because the sticks, they're lighter, more flexible, more durable every year, everything so the player can perform better. But then at the end of this perfectly balanced, fresh stick, you basically place a tape job and every player does something different. It has very much to do with emotions and traditions, very little with science and performance. So we wanted to change that, and for those players that are looking for the best performing stick on the market, we basically say you should also use the best performing product for the blade, because let's be honest here, the blade is the only portion of the stick that you actually use to touch the puck, right? So in our view, it's the most important part of your hockey equipment because you score, you pass, you shoot the puck, basically all the things you can do as a hockey player with the puck on your blade.
And I think one last point, comparing this to a high-end hockey stick, is you buy a high-end hockey stick because it's lighter, it has better feel, it's more accurate, and it has more power, which that's exactly what a Rezztek does for the hockey stick too. Now, like you mentioned, hockey players, we are very traditional. Sometimes we just find something we like, even though it's not as beneficial for us, and we stick with it way too long. So if I was one of those players and I heard these benefits that the Rezztek offers, but I wanted to maybe get a sense of how this feels on the ice or the rink compared to the traditional hockey tape job, how would you maybe describe, what's that first experience like with a Rezztek?
That's a very good question, and it might be a little different for different types of players, but I'll just maybe quickly summarize everything we heard so far from pros all the way to little kids. Obviously, with Rezztek being almost 50% lighter than a traditional full tape job, when you have it at the end of the stick, you can tell the difference. So first of all, even before you get on the ice, it's lighter. Second, or the first other thing that you notice, Rezztek doesn't cover the bottom portion of your blade, the edge, the bottom edge. So basically your stick slides over the ice without any friction or any resistance, which makes it seem that the blade is moving faster across the ice. which is something that you notice very early after giving Rezztek a try. It's something that takes a little while to get used to, but once you get used to it and then go back to a traditional tape job, it just feels heavier, bulkier, and not as precise. So that's why we think, and we also see it from the pros, that once a pro player actually makes the switch to Rezztek, it's very hard switching back to traditional tape, because once you get used to that feeling, you basically want to kind of like keep that feeling around. That's why most of our pros that switch to Rezztek are using Rezztek to this very day.
And if you had to ballpark, how many shots, or is it a full game that it takes to get accustomed to that new sensation, that improved sensation of using Rezztek?
Also very individual. I will answer maybe using feedback from a lot of our pro players, some of them also NHL players that I had the ability to talk to. First of all, the stick handling part definitely takes, like 15 to 20 minutes of an easy warm up where you kind of like get the feel for the blade gliding a little faster over the ice. When you start shooting, a lot of them immediately like the shot with the Rezztek, like right out of the gates. They say stuff like more pop, more precision, I can pick my spots better, etc., etc. So that added grip on the surface works very well for shots, one-timers, slap shots, and everything else. So once you get over the lighter and faster glide of the blade over the ice very early, and then you get to shooting, you're already kind of like halfway there. And from all of our pro players, we had players that tried Rezztek in the morning and used it in an NHL game the same night, so that answer would be pretty quickly. But we also had a guy in, for example, Alexi Heponiemi from Florida Panthers, who actually took 3 months after, at the end of each practice, he basically gave it like 5 to 10 minutes, getting used to it over a longer period of time before he actually committed and made the switch. This was maybe 2 years ago. He hasn't switched back. He's still using Rezztek, but he was one of the guys that took the longest time that I'm aware of that actually made the switch to Rezztek.
And so one last added benefit that we could talk about too, especially for the NHL players, but even for the competitive youth players, the average adult league players, some people just don't like retaping their stick, and they won't do it unless they absolutely have to. So let's talk about an extra time-saving benefit, and then let's go into maybe the best way to apply the Rezztek and other tips and tricks, and how would I need to know when it's time to go ahead and replace my Rezztek.
So you're very right with the convenience of not taping my stick all over again every day, which was even cited by some of our NHL players that are using Rezztek, that I get my sticks ready, I use them for a whole week, and then I grab new ones, and I don't retape them anymore since I'm using Rezztek, because they usually go through an amount of sticks over a week. So the convenience of it and not to have to retape it even throughout the game or before every game is definitely a big factor there. And in terms of when do I replace it, we recommend, and from our experience, anywhere between 8 to 10 sessions, on ice sessions, you're good. Even though the visual appearance of the Rezztek starts to show some signs of damage, like little cuts, bruises, it still performs well. When you have at least 30% of the surface visibly damaged with cuts, bruises, or anything, then we recommend to replace it. This can obviously vary from somebody being a youth player and not really putting so much force into shots, face-offs, etc. But even at the NHL level, this is something that the players usually use for 2 practices, 1 or 2 games before they actually switch it. And they usually switch it with the whole stick. So they very rarely actually retape a Rezztek on an existing stick. They usually change it for a new stick anyway.
Interesting. And so as I'm going through and the benefits sound incredible, I'm ready to try Rezztek. I see that there's 2 different options. We have a junior option, a senior option. What size sticks do those cover? And does one Rezztek fit any curve, or are there specific Rezzteks? Can you maybe walk me through the shopping process as well?
All right, so there's basically just two versions, a youth one, or let's call it like we call it the junior one, and a senior one. Your junior is for all the youth up to the intermediate size of blades. So basically it would be a player up to the age of 12. And then from all the intermediate and senior and elite patterns, that you would use a senior one. So very simple. We wanted to keep it simple. Both of those shapes are basically designed to fit 95% of the curves that are most sold and that you will usually find in a store. They also fit more of the unusual, like the square toe or the defenseman blades, and ideal. They're ideal for those most common, let's call them blade patterns. So no need to cut or do anything with it. It fits the blade, unless you want something totally specific, which obviously some of the players that buy a Rezztek can do with a pair of scissors. We don't recommend it because the edges of our product are sealed and cut by a laser. So that means those edges are basically perfect. And once you start cutting them, you can make like small imperfections that can kind of like cause durability issues, if I can call it that. And then for pro players, we do a lot of different shapes and sizes depending on their specific custom pattern. So we have a max height, we have one for the Bauer sling version, etc. So there basically sky is the limit, but this is not a solution that is available to everybody unless they ask for a fully customized version. And then we can not only customize the print, the logos or the names or the numbers on it, but we can also customize the basic shape of the product itself for a max height blade or for a sling, for example.
And you mentioned the sky is the limit when it comes to those pro players designing their Rezzteks. Sky is also the limit for that player looking to customize their blade, their Rezztek. So maybe walk me through, like I mentioned, there's basically no limitations on colors and logos. And then how about your order minimum as well as where you can purchase these customized Rezzteks?
Okay, so if you have a specific idea or you're that kind of player that wants to personalize or customize a product like Rezztek or something else on your equipment, we're very happy to do it, because for us it's basically the best kind of advertising and best kind of promotion for players actually going out and customizing their Rezzteks. So from something as simple as putting your name and your club logo on the heel or in the toe, to something like a full color print on your Rezztek, or placing your logo of your skill, coach on the Rezztek, or just doing a pattern out of your logos, like here you see from a German, I think it's a German youth team. It's basically we can do it all. We can also add custom shapes for it, like we did for the specific blade patterns, like a Bauer sling or a Bauer ADV. And it's actually very simple to do. There is 3 double packs minimum. So actually you get 6 Rezzteks or Rezztek for 6 sticks. You need to send us your idea for the design. You can do that through your website. So you can do that online or per email. And we're more than happy to then design it for you, send it for your confirmation, and then once you confirm that you're happy with the design, it basically gets to you in a matter of, I think we can do like 2 or 3 weeks delivery, since it has been approved and confirmed that the visuals work. So it's actually a big part of our business. We get those requests on a daily basis. It's not only team orders, it's advertising deals, all the way down to individual customers or little kids, putting something on the blade of the hockey stick. We honestly just have to be careful so we don't disturb any logos of, like big companies or something. So we always ask that you provide us with like your local team logo that you have the rights to actually place on a product. So that's basically the only thing that we're looking for, not to step on anyone's toes there.
Perfect, Andrej. Well, I think we've covered it all. One last question for you before we wrap this up. Are there any other tips or tricks that you could throw out to any of the individuals who I'm sure are gonna just be so excited about this Rezztek, especially once they start using it? So once again, any other tips and tricks you can throw out at us?
First and foremost, be open-minded. It's different than what you've been used to before. You have to give it the time to actually kind of like get the best benefit and the better feeling for what you do on the ice. But once you do, you will very likely be a Rezztek customer for the near future, because once you make the switch and once you dedicate that little extra amount of time, but you have to do the same thing for your new pair of skates. You have to do the same thing for your new stick. So it's something most of the players are used to. So we're just out there basically telling the players, guys, be open-minded, give it a go. It's not for everyone. There will be players 20 years from now, they will be still doing the same tape job they did back in the juniors. And that's perfectly fine. We're okay with that. We're just trying to basically bring something new to the market, something that should help you as a player to improve and basically have a better performance. And customization is a nice bit to it. Like if you want to do something that is individual or you want to do it for yourself, we can also do that. So just be open-minded, try new things, and in the end, your game will get better.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I can't wait for all these players to, like you said, be open-minded, give this a shot, improve your accuracy, your power, and your feel out there. Well, thanks again, Andrej. Appreciate it. And looking forward to see what other Rezztek evolutions we have in the future.
Thank you for having me.
And for you at home that want to check out more of these Rezztek, make sure you head over to icewarehouse.com.